Okay, so my name is Leslie Rodríguez, and I am connected to the PCUSA because I grew up in this church, in this Presbyterian Church USA. My dad is a minister and a professor in the PCUSA, ordained in the PCUSA, and was a professor at Louisville Presbyterian Theological Seminary. And my mom is also an ordained minister in the PCUSA. So is my aunt. So was my grandfather. So it's sort of a family legacy, but that's not to say that it wasn't my choice to stay in this church. I have the PCUSA emblem tattooed on my arm, so it's obviously a choice for me to stay a part of this church and connected with this church, which brings me to what I'm thankful for about the PCUSA. And when I got this tattoo, a lot of people asked me, well, what if your church winds up disappointing you someday? Are you ever afraid that you won't want to be a part of the church anymore? But I don't think that that's going to be the case, and it hasn't been the case up to now, and I've had this for 5 years. I'm really thankful for the PCUSA and everything that it does. There are a lot of things that are obviously things that I disagree with that go on in the church, but as a whole, which I think that a lot of times we lose sight of the whole, I think that our church does a lot for this world, for this country. The charity, the social justice, the focus on social justice issues, the compassion that our church has for what's going on in the world. I think that we really set an example, and I am so thankful to have been raised in this church, to have learned about God and what the church can mean to a young person. And I am, I think, young, and I think most people will agree that I still have a lot of life to live, and I hope that the PCUSA is here to guide me for as long as I'm alive. And I don't think that it will ever let me down, and I think that as long as we have really tight bonds, even though it sometimes feels like it's not as tight as it should be, I do think that we all want to work together to make the church as good as it can be. So there are some other things that I want to say that I'm thankful for before I go on. I'm also really thankful for the way that the PCUSA has included women. I went to a Christian university, Belmont University in Nashville, and I remember, and this was part of the reason I went and got this tattoo, I remember having conversations when I was a freshman about how women have a place in the church and have a place as ordained ministers in the church, and how important I thought that that was. And I really kind of was raised in a liberal bubble, or maybe a progressive bubble, in that I had no idea that other denominations, certain other denominations did not allow women to become ministers in the church. That had never really been something that I thought could be denied to a woman, and especially because my mom is an ordained minister, my aunt's an ordained minister. So I really think that I'm very thankful for the PCUSA for its role in including women in many ways in the church and in ministry. So what disappoints me about the PCUSA, like I said earlier, I think that a lot of times we lose sight of the whole, and we get really caught up in talking about the ways that the church, I think we get, caught up in talking about how the church disappoints us, instead of focusing on, what the church is doing for our communities, and the PCUSA in particular, how it's a light and a beacon in the world of faith. And I think that we need to start focusing on the good things that we're doing and make those better, and try to build on those good things. And there are lots of other little things that disappoint me about the PCUSA, but I like to look at the big picture, and I really like to look at where we're going, and I think that we are going in a really great direction, and so I really wish and hope that, there's a firefly. I really wish and hope that that the church would focus more on the good things that we're doing and really build on those things. I really don't know where I think that God is calling the church over the next 5 years. It's really hard to say, especially because sometimes I feel like I lose track of what's going on in the PCUSA because it's really hard to keep up with sometimes. But I really think that in the next 5 years I would love to see all of the different churches in the PCUSA really getting to know each other and forming communities in cities. Like, why is it that one PCUSA congregation doesn't know the PCUSA congregation down the street? I really think that in order for us to be able to reach out beyond our own denomination, I think we need to be able to make friends within our own denomination and really get to know each other and make sure that, they say that the PCUSA is a small world, but, it is if you look at it one way, but in another sense, there's a lot of people in the PCUSA that I don't know and that I would like to know, and, even in my own city in Nashville, there are churches that I've not visited, there are people that I don't know, and they're my brothers and sisters in Christ and in the PCUSA, so I do think that, in the next 5 years, I think that God is calling our church to really, get to know one another and stop bickering and focus on loving each other, which is what we're supposed to be doing anyway. And I think there are a lot of ministry and organizations that we should pray for. I really love the YAV program. I never took part in it, but it always was something that I thought that I would want to do someday, and I see what they've done in our community, and I think that that's a really great organization to pray for. But I think that my main prayer prayer would be for the future leaders of the church, the people in my generation who are all. So what I was trying to say, the camera cut off, but I really think that we need to pray for the future leaders of our church, and those are the people in my generation, the YAV workers, the people who feel like they're being called to the seminary or who don't know yet but will be called to seminary, people who are trying to discern their calling, and also the future leaders who are still in the nursery when we're sitting and listening to the sermon at church, the ones who are listening to the children's sermon and who are growing up in the church in the same way that I grew up in the church. And I think that those are the ones that we really need to pray for, because I think that they're going to be the ones who are really going to be the future leaders of the church, and they're going to be the ones who are going to be taking the church where it's being called in the next however many years. And I would love to see the PCUSA still thriving when those kids are adults, and I still want to be a part of the PCUSA when I'm old. And so yeah, that would be my main prayer. Thanks.